We played with an idea which looked like science fiction at the beginning. Could we create a big salad in the stomach with every meal just by taking a few capsules? Could we just do that and not adding any caloric value to the meals, not creating a foreign object like gastric balloon that stays stuck in the stomach all the time, which is something that we know works, but it has its own limitations, but something that really will flow with the meal naturally, creating more volume without any calories, increasing the elasticity, the firmness of the content of the stomach, then flow with the food, which, by the way, all the other foods that we eat, except vegetables and fruits, liquefied quite immediately, become liquids and flow very fast to the small intestine, then vegetables and fruits don't. So that's how we came with the idea of trying to develop a material like that, which is basically called super absorbent hydrogel. The challenge from material science perspective is that all super absorbent hydrogels known to science, at least before us, are based on acrylics, and they are highly toxic, and you definitely don't want to consume them on a daily basis. So what enables this breakthrough is the invention of the first and only super absorbent hydrogel, which is based on cellulose, which is a type of also used as food fiber originated from plants, and can absorb 100 times its original volume, water, to create much larger volume, and therefore could be administered conveniently just in a capsule, a few capsules with water with every meal, to create a large volume, which, as you can see in the photo here behind you, is very similar to a green salad or cucumber just chopped, the same way it would be chopped also by our teeth, and maintain these properties as not one mass, by the way, as individual pieces, thousands of pieces, and here I just prepared a dose in a cup before I started to talk with you, just so we will save time. But imagine creating something like this, which takes only about quarter of the volume of the stomach, not much is needed, but mixed with the food every time we eat and create an amount which is almost like, let's say, half a pound of a salad with every meal. What would be the effects of this? And I will here hand it over to my colleague, our Chief Medical Officer, Harry Lader, to tell you more what happened and what is the data we had when we took this concept into the clinic. Of course, we had a long process of preclinical and then clinical work, which brought us eventually to FDA approval, which we just received 2 years ago. Since then, we were working hard the last 2 years to build large manufacturing facilities that are going to supply
you can pass this around. I don't know if
our product
you've seen it, yeah.
to hopefully millions of people soon, when we are going to launch, to have our launch later this year. So, Harry, please, and sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I apologize for butchering your name, Harry.
That's all right.
Very well. Harry,
That's all right. It's later.
Also, previously the Chief Medical Officer and Group VP at Walgreens, so brings an extraordinary background to the table here of commercializing this product. And as I look at products in weight loss, this is one of the, they're always looking for disproportionate risk reward. And the risk reward here is pretty extraordinary, or the reward part.
Yeah, I want to first thank Peter for having us. This is our second event with Peter, and we're thrilled to be here. And have to thank Yishai. I mean, he started the journey 13, 14 years ago, and I'm the newbie. It's 3.5 years, and just honored to be part of this journey. So let's talk about the clinical data. Yishai showed you what the product is, and we're passing around samples. This is what would form in your stomach after about 15 or 20 minutes. And I want to share with you first some of the clinical data, and then we'll talk a little bit about what the FDA response was and how they're enabling us to market, and the product is called PLENITY. PLENITY. It's actually available now. We are marketing it via a telemedicine partner called Ro that you may have heard of, Roman. You can also get it through doctors in the community as well. So let's talk about how PLENITY works first. That'll get into the clinical data. Yishai briefly talked about this, but what happens is you take 3 capsules of PLENITY, just like big vitamin capsules, before lunch and before dinner with 2 glasses of water. And then in number 2, these capsules are dissolved quickly by the acid in the stomach. They release thousands of particles of the hydrogel into the stomach where they hydrate. Yishai described that a superabsorbent hydrogel is a material that absorbs many times its weight and size in water. In the case of PLENITY, it absorbs 100. Every little particle, the thousands of particles, are about 100 times their weight and size in water. And in number 3, that is about equivalent to 1/4 of the stomach. So the average adult has a stomach that's about 1,000 milliliters, or a liter. And PLENITY takes up about 225 milliliters of the stomach. Mixes with the food, doesn't form any kind of mass. It just homogeneously mixes with the food and increases the firmness and the volume of the meal. That's the mechanism that people really think about when they think about PLENITY, that it acts almost like a balloon that's safe, that's little particles that get dissolved eventually in the GI tract. That's number 3, but actually the gel, as Yishai said, stays intact in the small intestine. So the small intestine is 28 feet long. But in the distal end of the small intestine, the farthest part, there are cells that secrete a hormone called GLP-1. You probably know GLP-1 even if you don't know what that means, because you've seen ads on TV for GLP-1 drugs for diabetes. GLP-1 has the advantageous effect of increasing satiety. So it's not just the volume of the gel in the stomach, but it's this hormonal secretion of GLP-1, which we've proven in mice and we're about to demonstrate in humans with a recent study. And then finally, the gel stays intact until it gets to the large intestine, otherwise known as the colon. And there we have bacteria that create enzymes that naturally break the hydrogel into water. Water is reabsorbed by the colon, because that's what the colon physiologically does. And whatever's left in terms of the cellulosic fibers just passed normally. Because it works with the GI tract like this naturally, it's not absorbed by the body, it acts mechanically. It was regulated by the FDA as a device, not as a drug, because it's not absorbed, because it doesn't do anything chemically per se. And because it works with the natural digestive process, it is incredibly well tolerated. And I'll get into that more in a moment. So the easy answer is it fills up 1/4 of your stomach, but we actually now have phenomenal data in mice, and we're replicating in humans, that PLENITY and our hydrogels promote gut health. This is a big topic. A really big topic. Anybody here of leaky gut? Raise your hand if you've heard of leaky gut. Almost everybody. Our GI tract has 4,000 square feet of surface area. Did you know that? Because you have all those villi, right? It's not just the tube, it's all these little folds that are in your GI tract. 4,000 square feet. And when you're healthy, little bits of material you're allowed to pass from the GI tract into the blood, because that's how you get nutrients, right? But if you have something going wrong and you have a disease that causes leaky gut, metabolic diseases like diabetes and inflammatory diseases, what happens is toxins and bacteria on the right, you see the red diamond, pass into the blood and cause all sorts of problems. Celiac disease, ulcerative colitis. We think now it may even cause neurodegenerative diseases like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, and Alzheimer's. And we have evidence that our hydrogels actually promote gut health. They cause new cells to form. They tighten up the junctions. They improve the microbiome. Those are some of the reasons they do it. And they actually help fix leaky gut. This was an experiment that we did that was phenomenal, and it's a little complicated, but I'll do it really quickly. And basically what we do is if you give mice a certain solution, it's called dextrin sulfate solution, you create artificial inflammatory bowel disease, like artificial ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, and you create leaky gut. And what we did, if you can see over here on the diagram on the right, is when you just have normal mice, they have almost no, then you take another type of dextrin that mimics bacteria in terms of their size. And it's fluorescent, and you give it to the mice and then you collect their blood, and you can see on the left that normal mice don't have any of this fluorescent dextrin getting into their blood. The next one over, the big gray bar, is after they get the toxic solution, leaky gut. All of this is spilling, the bacteria is spilling into their blood. But on the right, going from right to left, we gave the mice the hydrogel, and as the dose went up, the amount of leaky gut was reduced because there was less of this fluorescent dextrin spilling into the blood. So this was an experiment to show that we have effect on gut health, which is really a cutting-edge idea in disease. Now, our clinical data, this was a double-blind randomized controlled study that was submitted to the FDA for our clearance. It was about 440 subjects, half on the hydrogel, which we now call PLENITY, half on placebo. What we found, upper left, 6 out of 10 people that took it were what we call responders. That means it worked great for them. They averaged losing 10% of their body weight. In this study, the subjects actually started at around 220 pounds, so they lost on average 10% or 22 pounds of that body weight. Some more, some less. It doesn't work for everybody, but for the people it works for, the 6 out of 10, it really has a dramatic effect. But even more impressive, upper right, 1 out of 4 people are what we call super responders. They lost on average 14% of their body weight or 30 pounds. And we have some emerging evidence that some factors that can predict who's going to be a super responder, people who have an elevated fasting glucose like prediabetes, or maybe have alterations in their microbiome. So we're getting into the area of precision medicine. Can we predict who's really going to be a winner on PLENITY? But the amazing thing, this is the game changer, and I've been in clinical medicine and research for 25 years. This is the first treatment for a chronic, complex medical condition, obesity, where this therapy has the same side effect profile, the same tolerability profile, the same safety profile as the sugar pill. That just never happens, right? Something that attacks a chronic disease always has side effects. But because we're leveraging the natural process of the body and it's not absorbed, this is as safe and as well tolerated as a sugar pill. So we took the data a couple years ago to the FDA, and they were very favorably disposed. And this is the label they gave us, the upper left. By being FDA cleared, we can communicate to clinicians and we can communicate to consumers. And I'm using the word consumer, not patient consciously, because when you see our go-to-market strategy, you'll see why I call them consumers for a moment. And this is the stamp of approval, right? The gold medal, the FDA cleared it. So that's really gives us credibility. When I was at Walgreens for 5 years, every one of the 8,000 Walgreens stores has an entire wall through full of nutritional and weight management products. None of them are FDA cleared. And therefore, it's like snake oil. Nobody knows what to get. Nobody believes it. We're FDA cleared, which enables us to be a prescription product. We could have been a nutritional supplement product, but the credibility of being FDA cleared and the economics of being a prescription treatment were very favorable. We also got this incredibly broad label. We were given the ability to market PLENITY and promote it for people with a BMI as low as 25 and as high as 40. Not everybody knows BMI numbers that well. You may know your own. But the existing therapies for overweight and obesity are only indicated for people with a BMI over 30 or over 27 in some cases when you have an existing comorbidity like heart disease or diabetes. We are the only therapy in the market where you can actually prescribe it or as a consumer, a patient or consumer take it if your BMI is 25 to 27 or 27 to 30 if you don't have another disease. This is tens of millions of people who have no option today and now have an option in PLENITY, which we're very proud of, very gratifying.
Hey, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps get the word out. And if you love the content that I talk about, present about, please subscribe to this channel. And one more thing, don't forget, please give me your comments down below. I love seeing what you think about all of this. We put a lot of time into it with incredible people and would love to have your feedback.